Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to be talking about harmonizers. Now, harmonizers are really good tools for thickening up sounds, and I encourage you to try them out on a lot of different material. But where they really shine is with vocals. And what the harmonizer does and what it was originally designed to do was to replace slash expedite the process of double tracking. And double tracking is the act of having let's say it's a vocalist, having a vocalist perform two takes. You take one of the takes, you put it left, the other one right. You play them both at the same time, double tracking. And the differences in pitch and timing will effectively give you a really thick sound. And listen to the chorus section of any modern piece of music, you'll hear double tracking. And the harmonizer is great because it takes a single signal and splits it up into the left and right, and then does things to pitch and delays each independently. And when you do that, it's a lot more consistent because, yeah, it's just an overall consistent, thick sound. You don't have see, with double tracking vocals is, the S's, right? You have like you add a de-esser, but you'll hear like in breaths and stuff like that. It's not that fun, and it's difficult to nail down. But with a harmonizer, you take one signal, you kind of condition it, and then you apply the harmonizer to it, you get an overall consistent sound. And you don't need to worry about those things that I was just mentioning. So yeah, we're going to be using it on a vocal sample, one of my favorite vocal samples. And this is what it sounds like. Right, one of my favorites. It is mono, I assure you. It's on the left. Just the left is coming through, so it's a mono signal. And I can turn on the Paz analyzer. Right, and that is right in the center. Right, so it's a mono signal. All right, so first one up is the classic dual harmonizer. So back in the day, you would get two harmonizers, one for the left, one for the right. So the basic theory of operation is you essentially just have this knob here, which adjusts the pitch ratio. So you don't pitch it up by like semitone or whatever. It's by ratio. So right now it's a 1-to-1 ratio, but you'll notice that it's moving around a little bit. It's drifting. And this is how the original unit behaved, right? It would kind of, you wouldn't be able to get it perfectly spot on, and you'd get this really, like readily available effect. And this setting right here is what everyone used back in the day because it just had this immediate effect. I'll give you an example. Right? And think of it as there's like modulation happening under the hood. This one is kind of modulating up. 1.01, we'll see it happen again. And this one is modulating down 0.99 to 1, right? So even if the pitch adjustment is right at 1-to-1, it'll still bounce around, and that'll give you a really cool effect. So you can do a bunch of things. This is the original unit. There's an upgraded unit that I'll show you in a bit. So you can pitch it up. So the pitch ratio is now 2-to-1. So the pitch is doubled on the left, and now we can have it, right? And you'll notice that, and what I really enjoy is that it's not quite perfect. It's not perfect interpolation. And when this first came out, it freaked people out because it sounded alien-like. And, you're not looking for, you know, perfect like pitch calculations. And you could use this as a tuner. So as far as I know, what they would do is they would play back whatever they wanted to harmonize a little bit faster, and then they would pitch it down with this, and you get a really cool effect. I'll give you an example. I'll just pitch that down kind of arbitrarily, right? Get this really interesting effect. Right? And just pitching it down just a tiny bit, right? Pitching it up higher than what you want, and then pitching it down with the eventide here gives you a really cool effect. Right, there is a little bit of delay inherent with this unit, so you might want to compensate it a little bit. It's 22.5 milliseconds. We can adjust it, and this is where some has effect can be procured. We can adjust the delay independently of the left and the right. Right, and you can get a really cool stereo separation that way. And the mix here will allow you to have the original signal, which would be, I guess, the center signal, and you can mix it in with that. So we have a thicker sound now. And, that's not the greatest example, but, we're getting there. Right, so we can do that. Right, and that's pretty thick with two C's. And then there's like a modern usefulness. We can adjust the stereo width on the output here. And do some fun things with that. And that's basically it. The delay can have some feedback, and the limiting also adds a nice effect. But this is kind of one of the original harmonizers. And I just want to kind of explain, when you pitch it down, right, it's not perfect. There's some interpolation errors, according to us, but it's the sound of the unit. It's really exciting. We use this a lot to thicken up vocals. And it would like right down on the low end, you got a really nice effect. So that's the eventide harmonizer, the dual harmonizer. There's another one here, and this is the upgraded one. You'll notice that the pitch ratio, it has an extra decimal point. And this one is a little bit more cleaner, a little bit more advanced, and the delay, there's no delay. It's more instantaneous, but you can still adjust it up to 400 milliseconds, and you can get some really cool effects that way. Right, and right off the bat, yeah, it sounds pretty cool. Right, and you can get a really nice effect here. Of course, you can do the has effect. Even to the extreme. Right, and yeah, maybe something like that. It still drifts like the other one. And you can get some really cool stuff with that. There's also the ability to have delay level. You can mix in the delay level, so this gets more kind of complex in terms of what it can do. You can get an extra kind of thickness in there, and the delay output can be set as well. Right, and you can do all sorts of stuff with that. So say we have like a delay here, and then we have the pitch up here. So think of it as like 4 separate sound sources we're mixing together now. I'll pitch that down. Right, and it's like, just experiment really. This one has a little less of an artifact kind of situation. We'll go half pitch here. You can really hear it. And that to me just sounds really cool. Right, and you can use that to thicken up your sounds. But depending on the era of what you're looking for, these two harmonizers work out quite well. What else? The feedback, you can adjust the EQ and the delay in those. Honestly, I don't use those that often, and I think we're not going for like some we're not going for otherworldly effects. We're just using the pitch shifting, and I've been really getting into like how old school pitch shifting works is because they had to downsample to begin with, and then they would do the calculations, and then they'd upsample, and then they'd use like really weird filters to remove the aliasing, all sorts of things. And also the how it behaves when you clip and limit. It's a really cool effect. So think of this as like, you'd say like four separate bands in here. So you can have it set up so the delay level down here is just the center channel, right? So you'll have that, like this is the center channel here, and then we can adjust the ratios here. They're probably not that much. And maybe even delay those too. Right? You can hear how that's like really, really thick and predictable. We can adjust the stereo width as well. As an example. Right, so I'll do that. I'll attempt to do it. I want to kind of thicken those vocals. Right, so in theory, oh yeah, I'll just delay that a little bit. Right, so now that's kind of thickened. And listen to it, you will hear this effect on a lot of modern vocals. I'm not doing it, that much justice, but there's always, that like low end, octave below weird thing happening. So let's move on. Another one is the Microshift. So this takes 3 famous styles or algorithms and condenses them into 4 knobs essentially. So the mix, focus, which is like a high pass, so you don't get like wibbly wobbly stuff on the low end. Does some really cool stuff. Right, and then we have detune amount, so the separation between the left and the right in terms of pitch, and then the delay, fast or slow, and the ability to mix to have that center channel that we desire. Right, you can do all sorts of stuff. And yeah, we're making it wider and thicker. That's with Microshift, and there's so many kind of like this, but this takes those 3 algorithms and condenses them into something fancy. So this is the one that I learned on. You learn with these kind of things, and this does a similar thing to all the others. This one is more of a digital kind of thing. It's not based on anything, but this is essentially having a center channel, which is here, the direct, and then the voice 1 and voice 2, 1 and 2. And I'm going to move on to the doubler 4-track, right? And this is the same, except you have 2 extra tracks. So I'd rather, if I want to have extra tracks, yeah, that sounds like, I'd rather it be here instead of having to copy over the settings to this one. So I just do this. So there's the direct channel, which is the one that is mono, right? And we have voice 1 here. I'll turn off direct for now. So voice 1, let's go, we'll go pan it 45. Actually, I'll turn it on, right? So that is the left. I have another one. This is right, and we can move them around like so in terms of their, volume and stuff like that. Right, so they are separated by a delay, no less, of 7.3. There has to be a delay in order for the pitch to change. In order for, you can't just tell the future of what, like, the next, where it's going to be. So I'm not explaining that correctly. Like, in order to properly pitch, you have to know what the next point is going to be in the waveform. So there's always a little bit of a delay. There's a buffer, and that's how it kind of works. So there's this. We can detune those independently. I'll have one -9, and then I'll have one +9. Right, and that's a general thickness, and these are in semitones, not in ratio. Right, really nice. Also, what's really cool about this is you can increase the depth. We'll notice that it's kind of modulating. And this is what the eventide harmonizer is doing. You can have a very kind of slow rate, right? So they're moving subtly. They both are, no, not like that. They're moving just ever so slightly, and that's essentially the movement and the natural kind of pitch that we're looking for. And we can have this more closer to like center frequency now because it's moving around so much. And we can have one delayed. Oops. And that is something that's pretty wide and juicy. And then we can have the direct, which is the center frequency, or the center material. Right, so that's the center. And yeah, we can take these two and mix them in. And we can see them visually represented in here. Right, and yeah. Right, and that works out quite well. And yeah, what does that sound like? Right, and this is why I like to have the other, I guess, voices available. I could probably have this one, yeah, not necessarily pan, but like, yeah, or maybe right in the middle, roughly. And I can have this detuned like so. And then have the delay. You get a nice juicy effect here. Right, and that's juicifying it up, and then we can mix those in as well. For lack of a better explanation. And let's take that. And that's like with no other effects. can actually use two of these, and this is something that I tend to enjoy doing, is I have default that. I have one harmonizer, right, or a doubler. Then I have another one here. Right, and that just gives you a really nice effect there. And probably have that like so. Let's see what that sounds like. No. Right. Right, and we can adjust the stereo width so we don't lose our correlation if we wish. And trust me, this sounds really good with reverb and delay and stuff. This is just very dry. Anyway, those are, I guess that's, I don't know, harmonizer workflow for electronic music. Taking classic techniques and equipment and then applying them to modern production is a good way to make things sound a bit more, to make things sound a lot less plastic. And, you know, the equipment, the SSL compressor, which, you know, there's a whole bunch of emulations of that now. That compressor was designed to be, I use the term musical, but it really was. A lot of console stuff was designed to be musical. Those frequencies that it's, you know, hard set on are very musical frequencies when you boost them. The Q, the curve is all musical. This sounds musical. And I can come up with a bunch of different examples. It's like when things aren't exactly on, you get a really nice effect. So, one of the more kind of pronounced effects is to have it being played back faster, and then pitch it down with the harmonizer, and you'll get a really interesting effect. And I'll just give you one more example of how you'd go about doing that. You don't even need to have it kind of separated left and right. You can just drop in the no, not that one. The harmonizer, this one right here. Right, so that one that's a little bit pretty fast in terms of its pitch. I can pitch it down with the ratio here. Right, you get those artifacts, and I don't know why. I really like the sound of those artifacts. It's not perfect. It's not exactly on tune. It just sounds more real. Or not real, but I guess more appropriate for what we're going for. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you learned stuff. Take care and have a good one.